Commander Teo walked through the long hallway of the alien spaceship. His footsteps made quiet sounds on the shiny silver floor. Everything around him was strange and beautiful. The walls glowed with soft blue light. The air felt different, colder than Earth air. As he walked, Teo thought about why he was here. 3 weeks ago, Earth received a message. The message came from the Vexthar, a powerful alien race that lived far away in space. The Vexthar said they wanted to talk about Earth. They said they wanted to talk about humans. Teo was sent to speak for all of Earth. He was a military commander, strong and smart. The leaders of Earth thought he was the right person to go. The Vexthar were famous. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were the strongest fighters in space. For 3,000 years, no one had beaten them. No other alien race could fight them and win. The Vexthar were proud of this, very proud. Some people said they were too proud. Some people said they were mean about it. Teo reached the big meeting room. It was enormous. The ceiling was very high, maybe 50 meters high. The walls were made of clear crystal that sparkled like diamonds. There were windows showing the stars outside. Teo could see thousands of stars through those windows. It made him feel small and alone. Around a huge table sat the alien leaders. There were 12 of them. Each one looked different because they came from different worlds. Some had many arms. Some had no arms at all. Some had skin like metal. Some had skin that changed colors. But one group stood out, the Vexthar. The Vexthar looked almost human, but not quite. They were tall, maybe 2.5 meters tall. Their skin was gray and hard like stone. Their eyes were black and empty like space. When they moved, their bodies moved like machines, perfect and exact. There was no wasted movement, no mistakes. The supreme coordinator of the Vexthar was named Krenzix. He was the biggest and most impressive of all the Vexthar. His gray skin had purple marks on it that showed he was a great warrior. When Krenzix looked at Teo, Teo felt very small. Krenzix did not smile. His face showed no feeling at all. "Commander Teo from Earth," Krenzix said. His voice was deep and loud like thunder. "You have come to hear why we called this meeting. We have a problem. You have a problem." Teo sat down at the table. "I am ready to listen, Supreme Coordinator," Teo said. His voice was calm. Inside, his heart beat fast. Krenzix stood up. All the other aliens looked at him. They waited. Krenzix was about to speak, and when Krenzix spoke, everyone listened. "Your species," Krenzix said, looking at Teo, "has been moving into spaces that do not belong to you. We call these the neutral sectors. For thousands of years, these areas were empty. Your humans started building colonies there. You started mining there. You did not ask permission. You did not follow the rules." The other aliens nodded. They agreed with Krenzix. Teo listened carefully. He had heard about this before. Earth had built 3 colonies in the neutral sectors in the last 5 years. The colonies were small. They did not hurt anyone. Teo thought this was not a big problem. "We did not know there were rules," Teo said. "Earth is new to space. We are young. We make mistakes." Krenzix looked down at Teo from his great height. "Yes," he said, "you are young. You are new. This is why we called you here. We want you to understand something important. We want you to understand how small you really are." Krenzix walked to a big screen on the wall. He pressed something and the screen lit up. A hologram appeared in the air. The hologram was 3 meters tall. It showed a figure. This figure was the most impressive thing Teo had ever seen. The figure in the hologram looked like a Vexthar, but more. It was larger, more muscular. The skin was darker, almost black. The purple marks on the body were bigger and more complex. The figure held weapons that looked ancient and powerful. Around the figure, light glowed. Light that showed strength and power. "This," Krenzix said, pointing at the hologram, "is what power really looks like. This is our greatest warrior. In all of history, no one has ever beaten this fighter. This warrior has fought in 500 battles. 500 battles and won every single one. Never defeated. Never even hurt badly. This warrior is perfect. All the other aliens in the room looked at the hologram. They looked impressed. Some of them looked scared. Krenzix continued speaking. This warrior has trained in every form of combat known in the galaxy. This warrior has studied strategy and fighting for hundreds of years. This warrior is the reason the Vexithar remains strong and unbeaten. If your species ever fought against this warrior, you would lose. You would lose quickly. Teo stared at the hologram. It was true that this fighter looked incredible. The power was clear. The training was obvious. Teo felt a little scared, but he did not show it on his face. He was a military commander. He knew how to stay calm. But then something strange happened. Teo looked more carefully at the hologram. He looked at the face. He looked at the shape of the body. He looked at the way the warrior stood. Something about this figure was familiar, very familiar. Teo's heart started to beat faster. His hands felt strange. "Commander?" Krenzix asked. "Do you understand now what we are trying to tell you? Do you understand how small and weak your species really is?" Teo did not answer right away. He kept looking at the hologram. His mind was working fast. His memory was searching. Then he remembered. He remembered a picture he had seen when he was young, a picture that was very old. A picture from his family history. Teo's mouth became dry. His hands shook a little. He looked up at Krenzix. "That is my grandmother," Teo said. His voice was quiet, very quiet. The room became completely silent. No one made any sound. Even the machines stopped their humming sounds. The silence was so complete that it almost made a sound of its own. Krenzix looked confused. His black eyes became wider. "What did you say?" he asked. "That warrior," Teo pointed at the hologram, "in your history, in your records. That is Namhi, that is my grandmother, that is a human." The other aliens started making sounds, sounds of confusion, sounds of surprise, sounds of disagreement. They all started talking at the same time. The room became loud and crazy. Krenzix did not move. He did not speak. He only looked at Teo. In his black eyes, there was no understanding. There was only shock. And in that moment, everything changed. The meeting that was supposed to show Earth how small they were was about to show something completely different. Something that would change everything. Everything. The silence in the meeting room broke into chaos. Aliens spoke in their own languages. Some spoke quietly. Some spoke loudly. Their voices mixed together and made a confusing noise. Krenzix stood very still. His gray face showed no emotion, but his eyes looked sharp and angry. "This is impossible," Krenzix said finally. His voice was calm, but Teo could hear anger in it. "This is a trick. This is a human trick. You make lies to confuse us." Teo was not surprised that Krenzix did not believe him. He would not have believed such a crazy story either if he had not known it was true. Teo took out a small computer device from his pocket. This device could show information from Earth. It could connect to Earth's records across space using special communication. "I need to show you something," Teo said. He held up the device. "May I use your screen?" Krenzix did not say yes or no. He just waved his hand. Teo walked to the screen and connected his device to it. Information started to appear on the big screen. First came pictures. Old pictures from Earth, military records. Then came more modern pictures and documents. The first picture showed a young woman. She had dark hair and serious eyes. She wore an Earth military uniform from 70 years ago. Under the picture, it said, "Pilot Namhi, missing in space, year 2355. 70 years ago," Teo explained, speaking slowly so all the aliens could understand. A human pilot named Nam He was exploring space. She was in a small ship with two other pilots. They were looking for new star systems and new worlds. But they entered a storm, a big space storm. The ship was damaged. The other two pilots died. Nam He was alone. More pictures appeared on the screen. These pictures showed an old ship, broken and floating in space. They showed the path of the ship. They showed where Nam-He was supposed to go, but the path showed that she crashed somewhere else, somewhere in Vexthar space. Nam-He's ship went off course, Teo continued. We lost the signal. We thought she was dead. We never heard from her again. For 70 years, we did not know what happened to her. The aliens all looked at the screen. They studied the information. Some of them made noises that sounded like surprise or doubt. Then Teo showed more documents. These documents were from the Vexthar, records from Vexthar military archives. They showed that a small human ship had crashed on Vexthar many years ago. The records said that one human pilot survived the crash. The records said that the pilot was trained and brought into Vexthar society. The records gave the name Nam-He. Your own records show this, Teo said, pointing at the Vexthar documents. Your own history shows that a human pilot arrived here 70 years ago. That pilot's name was Nam-He. That is my grandmother. Krenzix walked closer to the screen. His black eyes studied every word, every number, every piece of information. His face still showed no feeling, but Teo could see that Krenzix was thinking very hard about this. One of the other aliens stood up. This alien was from the Kreldian race. The Kreldians were smart and liked science and facts. The genetic markers, the Kreldian said. Can you show us the genetic markers? If this human is truly your greatest warrior, the records must show her genetic information. We can compare it with Commander Teo's genetic information. If they match, then we have proof. Teo smiled a little. This was exactly what he had hoped. He had brought genetic information with him. He had always thought that one day he might need to prove that Nam-He was his grandmother. Teo showed his genetic code on the screen. Then he asked Krenzix to show Nam-He's genetic code. Krenzix was quiet for a long moment. Then he ordered one of the other Vexthar to bring the information. Within minutes, the genetic codes appeared side by side on the big screen. The scientists in the room, and there were several from different alien species, started studying the information. They used special computers to compare the codes. They looked for matches. Then one of the scientists made a sound of surprise and excitement. There is no doubt, the scientist said. The genetic codes match. With 99.9% certainty, these two are directly related. Commander Teo and the warrior Nam-He share a family connection. This is not a trick. This is real. The room became very quiet again. The aliens looked at each other. They looked at Teo. They looked at Krenzix. Krenzix sat down slowly in his big chair. For the first time, emotion appeared on his face. Shock, confusion, maybe even worry. Tell us everything, Krenzix said to Teo. Tell us about this Nam-He. Tell us about this woman who trained under us, who fought for us, who became our greatest warrior. Tell us that you know why a human could do what no Vexthar has ever done. Teo took a deep breath. This was the most important moment. This was when he needed to tell the real story. My grandmother, Teo began, was not just a pilot. She was a teacher. She was a student of war and fighting. When her ship crashed on your world, she had a choice. She could have tried to go back to Earth. She could have tried to build a new ship. Or she could have learned your ways. She chose to learn. She studied your fighting methods. She studied your strategies. She studied your history. Teo looked at all the aliens. But here is the important thing. Humans are different. Humans learn very fast. Humans adapt to new situations. Humans can become very good at anything if they study hard enough. My grandmother studied harder than anyone. She trained more than anyone. She combined what she knew from Earth with what she learned from the Vexthar, and she became better than all of you." An angry sound came from one of the Vexthar, but Krenzix raised his hand, and the other Vexthar became silent. "What happened to her?" Krenzix asked. "Where is she now?" "She is still alive," Teo said. "She is 93 years old. She lives on Earth. She never told the Vexthar who she really was because she was afraid. She was afraid that if you knew she was human, you would reject her. You would not listen to her. You would not learn from her." Krenzix stood up slowly. His black eyes looked into Teo's eyes. "Then I have a request, Commander. I have a request for your people. I want to meet this grandmother of yours. I want to talk to her. I want to know the truth from her own mouth. Can you bring her here?" Teo nodded. "I can ask her, but I do not know if she will come. She has not left Earth in 50 years. "Ask her," Krenzix said. "Tell her that Krenzix, Supreme Coordinator of the Vexthar, personally requests her presence. Tell her that the galaxy wants to meet the woman who has been teaching us for 70 years without us knowing her true name." In that moment, Teo knew that everything was about to change. Everything. Nam-He received the message while sitting in her garden. She was 93 years old now, and she spent most of her time in this quiet place. The garden was behind her house, far from the noise of the city. There were trees and flowers. There was water. There were birds. It was peaceful. The message came through her communication device. It was from Teo, her grandson. He told her everything that happened at the meeting. He told her about the hologram. He told her about the revelation. He told her about Krenzix's request. Nam-He read the message 3 times. Her hands were steady, her face showed no emotion, but inside she felt something very strong. She felt something she had not felt in many years. Fear. For 70 years she had kept her secret. For 70 years she had lived as 2 different people. On Vexthar, she was the unbreakable, the greatest warrior in history. On Earth, she was just Nam-He, an old woman who told stories to children sometimes. No one suspected, no one asked questions, no one knew. She had built a new life on Earth after she left the Vexthar. She had married. She had children. She had grandchildren. She had tried to be normal. She had tried to forget her warrior days. She had almost succeeded. But now, her secret was out. The entire galaxy would know who she really was. There was no going back. There was no hiding anymore. Nam-He looked at the garden around her. She looked at the peaceful flowers. She looked at the quiet water. Then she stood up, slowly. Her old bones cracked a little. She walked back into her house. It took her 3 days to prepare. She had to get medical checks to make sure she was healthy enough to travel. She had to tell her family where she was going and why. She had to prepare herself mentally for this moment. When she finally told her family, they were shocked. Her children thought she was making a mistake. They thought she should stay on Earth. They thought meeting the Vexthar would be dangerous. But Nam-He's granddaughter, Gina, understood. Gina was 17 years old, and she was smart and brave like her grandmother. "You have to go, grandmother," Gina said. "You have carried this secret for so long. You have to face it. You have to tell them the truth." Nam-He looked at her granddaughter. She saw courage in Gina's eyes. She saw understanding. She saw love. "I am scared," Nam-He said. It was the first time she had said this out loud in many years. "I know," Gina said. "But you have always said that the brave thing is not to be without fear. The brave thing is to move forward even when you are afraid." Nam-He smiled. Her granddaughter was right. She had taught these things to others. Now it was time to live by them herself. 1 week later, Nam-He sat in a spaceship traveling toward the Vexthar meeting place. Tayo was with her. They did not talk much. There was not much to say. Nam-He watched the stars through the window. She watched Earth get smaller and smaller until it was just a small blue dot in the dark. The spaceship landed on a special neutral station. This station was where important meetings happened between different alien races. It was considered a safe place for all species. When Nam-Hee walked out of the spaceship, she walked slowly. Very slowly. She was old now, and her body did not move as fast as it used to, but her mind was sharp and clear. Krenzix was waiting for her. He stood with 10 other Vexthar. When he saw Nam-Hee, he did not show any emotion, but Nam-Hee could see something in his eyes. Recognition. The recognition of one warrior seeing another warrior. Nam-Hee, Krenzix said. His voice was low and respectful. This was not the voice of a commander trying to seem powerful. This was the voice of someone saying a real name with real respect. Krenzix, Nam-Hee answered. She bowed her head slightly. It was a respectful bow, a warrior's bow. We have prepared a private room for us to talk, Krenzix said. I have many questions. I have many answers, Nam-Hee said. They walked together through the station to a big round room. The room had one long table and many chairs. Large windows showed the stars outside. Krenzix and Nam-Hee sat at opposite ends of the table. Between them sat the silence of 70 years. Why did you hide? Krenzix asked. This was his first question. Nam-Hee thought about this carefully. She had thought about this question many times over the years. When my ship crashed on Vexthar, she began slowly. I was alone and scared. I thought I would die. But your people found me. They saved my life. I had two choices. First choice was to tell them I was human, an outsider. But if I did that, they would see me as weak. They would see me as different. They would not let me be part of their society. They would keep me away. Nam-Hee paused. She looked out the window at the stars. Second choice was to become one of them, to study their ways, to learn their secrets, to prove I was as good as them. If I did this, I could stay. I could learn. I could help them. I could be useful. I chose the second way. Krenzix listened. He said nothing. He just listened. But there was another reason, Nam-Hee continued. I discovered that humans learn differently than Vexthar. Our minds work differently. Our bodies work differently. And when I combined what I learned from Vexthar with what I already knew from Earth, I became something new, something better. I became the unbreakable, not because I was better than you from birth. I became the unbreakable because I learned more, studied more, and tried harder than everyone else. You became the unbreakable, Krenzix said slowly, because you were human. No, Nam-Hee said. Her old eyes were sharp. I became the unbreakable because I worked harder than anyone. I studied harder than anyone. I wanted it more than anyone. My being human was just one small part of that. The real power came from here. She pointed to her head. And here. She pointed to her heart. Krenzix stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars for a very long time. Finally, he turned back to face Nam-Hee. The Vexthar have been ruled by pride for 3,000 years, he said. We believed we were the strongest. We believed we were the best. We believed that our power came from our race, our blood, our nature. But you have shown us something different. You have shown us that power comes from effort. Power comes from learning. Power comes from trying harder than anyone else. Krenzix looked at Nam-Hee's old face. You have taught us more by hiding who you were than you ever could have by telling us the truth, he said. And now the galaxy will know. The galaxy will know that the greatest warrior in history was human. The galaxy will know that humans can do anything if they work hard enough. Nam-Hee said nothing. She just nodded slowly. And in that moment, both of them understood. Everything had changed. For everyone. Forever. The news spread through the galaxy like fire. Within 2 days, every alien race had heard the truth. The greatest warrior in Vexthar history was human. The most powerful being anyone had ever seen was from Earth. Everything that the galaxy believed about strength and power had to change. Some aliens did not want to believe it. Some aliens said it was a trick. Some aliens said it was impossible. But the proof was there. The genetic records were clear. The Vexthar confirmed it themselves. It was the truth. On Earth, people reacted with shock and pride. Namhe had been a legend for 70 years, but no one on Earth knew she was alive. No one knew she had become so famous in space. Suddenly, she was the most important person in human history. But Namhe was not interested in being famous. She wanted to understand what this all meant. 3 days after her meeting with Krenzix, other alien representatives came to meet her. They asked her questions about humans. They asked about Earth. They asked about what made humans special. Namhe answered all their questions with patience and honesty. Humans are not better than other species, Namhe told them. We are just different. We are small and not very strong. We cannot live in hot environments like some of you. We cannot live in cold environments like others. We need air and water. We need food many times every day. We are weak in many ways. The aliens listened carefully. They seemed confused. If humans were weak, how could one human become the strongest warrior? But, Namhe continued, humans can adapt. We can learn very fast. We can change. When I crash-landed on Vexthar, I did not know how to fight like a Vexthar. I had no idea. But I studied, I learned, I changed myself. After many years, I became as good as any Vexthar. Then I kept studying. I kept learning. I kept trying to be better. And eventually, I became better than all of them. An alien called Dr. Velmoth, a scientist from the Kreldian race, stood up with excitement. "This is revolutionary," Dr. Velmoth said. "This changes everything. If a human can adapt so much, then other humans could probably do amazing things too. What if we helped humans? What if we taught humans our technology? What if we combined human adaptability with our knowledge?" Other aliens started talking fast. They started talking about trade. They started talking about cooperation. They started talking about sharing technology and knowledge with humans. The Vexthar, especially Krenzix, supported this. They understood better than anyone that humans could be trusted with great power. Humans had proven this already. On Earth, scientists like Dr. Jiwoo heard about these discussions. Dr. Jiwoo was a very smart person. She studied the stars and space. When she heard about Namhe, she became very interested. "This does not make sense," Dr. Jiwoo said to her team. "Namhe is extraordinary, but how can one human be so different from all other humans? Is she special, or is there something else?" Dr. Jiwoo started researching human history. She studied old records. She studied genetic information. She looked at ancient human stories and myths. What she discovered was shocking. In the very old days, before written history, there were stories. Stories about people who came from the sky. Stories about beings who taught humans new things. Stories about visitors from other worlds. These stories were in almost every human culture. Different names, different times. But the same basic story. Dr. Jiwoo studied the human genetic code more carefully. She found something that other scientists had noticed, but not fully understood. There was a special marker in human DNA. This marker suggested that humans had not developed completely naturally. It suggested that something, or someone, had changed human DNA a very long time ago. "It is possible," Dr. Jiwoo said to her team, her voice shaking with excitement, "that humans were created or changed by an ancient alien race. It is possible that humans were given the ability to adapt and learn because they were designed to be explorers. They were designed to go to other worlds and survive." This discovery spread quickly. Soon the entire galaxy was talking about it. Humans were not a young, new species. Humans might be one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Humans might have been made by an ancient and very powerful civilization. The Vexthar began searching their old records. They looked for information about ancient civilizations. They looked for stories about a race that could change other races' DNA. They found old references, very old references. The name was almost forgotten, but it was there. The first builders. According to the records, the first builders were a civilization that existed millions of years ago. They traveled all through the galaxy. They studied different planets. They studied different species. Sometimes they changed species. Sometimes they gave certain races special abilities. Then the first builders disappeared. No one knew what happened to them. One theory was that the first builders gave humans the ability to adapt because they wanted humans to survive without needing help. They wanted humans to spread across the galaxy and explore. They wanted humans to be independent. When Nam-He heard about this theory, she smiled. "That makes sense," she said to Krenzix. "That explains why humans are so interested in exploring. That explains why humans can learn so fast. That explains why humans want to visit every new place and learn about every new people. We were made to explore. We were made to adapt. We were made to learn." Krenzix nodded slowly. "Then your species is not young and weak," he said. "Your species is ancient. Your species was designed by one of the most powerful civilizations that ever existed. Your species was given the greatest gift that any civilization could receive, the ability to become anything, to learn anything, to adapt to anything." The Vexthar's opinion about humans changed completely. Other alien races also changed their opinions. Humans were no longer seen as a young, unimportant species. Humans were seen as descendants of the first builder's greatest experiment. Trade agreements were signed. Knowledge was shared. Humans received technology that would have taken them hundreds of years to develop on their own. In return, humans offered their creativity, their adaptability, and their willingness to learn. Earth began to change quickly. New buildings were built using alien technology. New medicines were created. New energy sources were developed. But most importantly, humans began to understand their own true nature. They understood that they had been made for more. They understood that they had been made to be great. And all of this began because one old woman, Nam-He, had decided to keep a secret for 70 years. All of this began because she had worked hard to become the best. All of this began because she had proven that anything was possible if you tried hard enough. 5 years had passed since Nam-He revealed herself to the galaxy. 5 years had changed everything. Earth was no longer a small planet on the edge of alien civilization. Earth was now one of the most important worlds in the galaxy. Nam-He was now 98 years old. Most humans her age would be very sick or very weak. But Nam-He was different. Her Vexthar training had given her a strong body that did not age like normal human bodies. She could still walk and think and teach. She could still do what she loved. What Nam-He loved most was teaching. After she became famous, she was asked to teach at many places. Military academies wanted to learn from her. Universities wanted to learn from her. Even alien warriors wanted to learn from her. But the most important place was the new Academy of Combined Warriors. This academy was built on a neutral space station called Kurthen Prime. Warriors from many different alien races came to study there. Humans, Vexthar, Kreldians, and many others trained together. Nam-He had convinced Krenzix to support this academy. She had convinced him that the future was not about one race being the strongest. The future was about different races learning from each other. The future was about different races becoming stronger together. Krenzix had agreed. The Vexthar, who had always fought alone and kept their secrets, now shared their knowledge with other races. And in return, they learned new things. They learned new fighting techniques from humans. They learned new strategies from Kreldians. They learned new approaches from species they had never studied before. Nam-He was now the Grand Master of the Academy. This was the highest position. It meant she was in charge of everything. It meant everyone listened to her. It meant she had the power to shape how the next generation of warriors would be trained. On this day, there was a special ceremony. The first group of mixed-race warriors was graduating. Warriors who had trained together, fought together, and learned together. Warriors who had studied under Nam-He and other teachers. Nam-He stood in a huge amphitheater. The amphitheater was open to the stars. Above them, planets could be seen, moons could be seen. The entire galaxy seemed to be watching. Below her, 300 young warriors stood. They came from 17 different alien races. They wore uniforms in different colors, showing which race they came from. But they all wore one symbol that was the same. The Academy mark, a symbol of unity, a symbol of shared learning. Nam-He looked down at them. She saw confidence in their faces. She saw hope. She saw the future. "Warriors," she said. Her old voice was strong and clear. "You have completed your training. You are now graduates of the Academy of Combined Warriors. But more importantly, you are something new. You are something the galaxy has never seen before. You are warriors who learned not just from your own race, but from many races. You are warriors who know that strength comes not from being alone. Strength comes from working together." The young warriors listened. They listened with respect. Nam-He was a legend. They had studied her methods. They had learned from her teachers. They knew who she was. "I did not invent a new way of fighting," Nam-He continued. "I simply combined what I learned from different sources. I took the best ideas from the Vexthar. I took the best ideas from humans. I took the best ideas from other races. And I became something new, something better." She paused and looked at the young warriors carefully. "This is what I want you to do," she said. "Take what you have learned here. Take the knowledge from different races. Combine it with your own natural abilities. Create something new. Create something the galaxy has never seen before. Do not just fight like your race. Do not just think like your race. Think like a warrior who has learned from the entire galaxy." After the ceremony, representatives from every major alien power came to meet Nam-He. They came to congratulate her. They came to thank her. They came to honor her. Krenzix was the first. The great Vexthar leader stood tall beside his old teacher. "You have changed everything," Krenzix said. "You have changed how we think about strength. You have changed how we think about power. You have changed how we think about ourselves. The Vexthar will never be the same, and we will always be grateful." Nam-He smiled. "The Vexthar were always great," she said. "I just helped you understand what makes you great. It was not your race. It was not your genetics. It was your willingness to learn. It was your willingness to change. It was your strength of will." Dr. Jiwoo, the scientist who had discovered the truth about humans and the first builders, also came to see Nam-He. "Your grandmother," Dr. Jiwoo said to Teo, who stood beside Nam-He, "is the most important human in history. But she does not seem to want that attention." Teo laughed. "My grandmother is not interested in being important. She is only interested in learning and teaching others to learn. That is all she has ever cared about." As the sun set over the space station, Nam-He sat alone in the amphitheater. She looked out at the universe. She thought about her life. She thought about the 70 years she spent on Vexthar. She thought about the 50 years she spent on Earth. She thought about the 5 years since everything changed. Her granddaughter Gina came to sit beside her. Gina was now 22 years old and had just graduated from the academy. She had trained under her grandmother's teaching. "Grandmother," Gina said, "do you regret hiding who you were? Do you regret keeping your secret all those years?" Nam-He thought about this question for a long time. She thought about all the years of silence, all the years of hiding, all the years of pretending to be someone else. "No," she said finally. "I do not regret it. If I had told the Vexthar I was human, they would never have taught me. They would never have let me be part of their world. I would never have become who I became. Sometimes, the only way to learn is to become part of something, to live it, to be it, to understand it from the inside. Namhi looked at her granddaughter. And now, she continued, because I spent those years learning and studying and becoming something great, billions of humans will have chances they never had before. Billions of humans will have access to knowledge and technology. Billions of humans will understand their true potential. One person's secret has helped an entire species wake up to what they can become. Gina took her grandmother's old hand in her young hand. The universe will never be the same, Gina said. No, Namhi agreed. It will not. And that is how it should be. Change is the only thing that is real. Change is the only thing that is eternal. And the bravest thing any person can do is to work hard, learn everything, and become the best version of themselves they can be. Because when you do that, you change not just yourself. You change the entire world around you. And in that moment, under the light of distant stars, grandmother and granddaughter sat together. And both of them understood that everything they had hoped for was coming true. Everything they had worked for was becoming real. And the most amazing part was knowing that this was only the beginning. This was only the start of something much, much greater.